Greetings once again, true believers. It's Chuke here with another high strangeness in Alaska. The Bigfoot studies were going on 4 months of every Sunday. I'm doing a Bigfoot video. I'm getting really excited. It is cooling off here in Alaska and it will snow soon. It had already snowed by this time last year, so I'm hoping we get a few more weeks of, at least in the south central area, of weather like this where it's not too snowy, because I am going to do I'm hoping to do 2 more expeditions. We're going to go back to Sasquatch Bay to lock the cabin up for the year, kind of like Rob Roy Menzies just did in Area A. And next weekend I'm going to do an expedition with a buddy who's been talking to this old timer that has these stories about a short Sasquatch. It's like more like 5 feet tall with really big feet and giant fangs. And the guy swears that they're out there in this area that we can drive to and hike in. So I'm hoping we don't get a ton of snow. And it just sounds crazy. Like Rob Roy Menzies had the exact idea that I had. He's like, whoa, I want to draw that like as an illustrator. That is just perfect. So that's something I want to illustrate too, get some more descriptions, but it just sounds really wild. But it's been a fun journey so far. I'm excited about my puppy. He's not a full-blood Akita, but he's like 90% Akita. He weighs 54 pounds at 6 months, so the vet says he's going to be an 80-pound dog. He doesn't bark almost at all. He'll let out one bark like once in a while, but he's kind of a silent wolf-like dog. I think he's going to be a great companion for these Bigfoot expeditions because he's not loud at all and he's got a high prey drive, so he's a good protector. So really excited about that. But I did want to talk about, I keep getting lots of comments and messages about the Bigfoot that was seen on the train ride, and I believe it's the old-fashioned coal train. It used to be a coal train, at least. People start complaining about it. It goes from Durango, Colorado to Silverton. And I love this story because I lived in Durango, Colorado for 2.5 years. I love that area. It is a very mysterious, very wild area. You go out and there's just elk out and deer, and there's a lot of wide open space. And it was just a matter of time before we got some footage like this. I'm still on the fence on whether it was a true sighting or not. I think it's possible. I'm not going to totally rule that out, that it wasn't just a real Bigfoot sitting by the, squatting down. It was pretty cool how it blended in, although that area's got that sagebrush and stuff. And so if you're in a brown suit, depending on the camera settings, you're going to look like that anyways. But that was really cool. It just kind of blended in with the bushes. So if you haven't seen it by now, just Google Durango Bigfoot sighting from train or something like that. It's all over the internet. It went viral. I'm a little torn on it. I tend to be a little more skeptical about this footage. It was amazing how clear it was, but he did seem to walk like a man in an ape suit. I'm not going to lie. And people suggested he's in one of the beef jerky suits, and he does look like that character. He looks like a Dr. Seuss character because they've done some renditions, computer renditions, where they really tightened up the footage, and you see him like that. So I'm a little on the fence. I don't think a Bigfoot would just be walking like that as a train went by and just sit down as the train went. I think it was, and God bless him for it. I think it's pretty cool that a local person or business owner or something did that. It's fun. I wish more people, well, no, I don't, because then if I'm out hunting or something, I'd shoot somebody in a monkey outfit. So don't do that, but I do think it's pretty funny. Tend to be a little more skeptical about that sighting. There are some more other footage sightings, like the classic one, that I tend to believe more than this one. So, because I think the Bigfoot would just take off and run. But it does make you want to kind of stop and think about it. What is it with this creature that it's so hard to capture on film and evidence? I mean, the skeptics have a good point. I mean, if Bigfoot's real, why haven't we just discovered a bunch of bones? Why haven't we have real photographic evidence, captured one, hunters shot one? And we do have stories, tons of stories. Hunters tend to run into them in the mountains, in the woods. I think that it's a complicated topic, and I've got a couple theories about that. And I'm not going to lie, some of the theories get out there. They get out there. It's not for everybody. On one hand, I do think that there's a small population of these Sasquatches that are flesh and blood, and they're just so smart and so good at hiding from humans. One of the theories is long ago, humans hunted the Bigfoot, so the Bigfoot developed skills and just got away from humans, and they were able to just hide from humans and avoid them, which I think is happening. Obviously, they know that we have technology, and you know, it would be magic to them, and they just go into the deepest, densest, boggiest, wettest places that are hard to get at, and they're up here. It can be done. I believe that there are some creatures that have not been discovered up here in Alaska just because it's so vast, and there's some terrain that humans just can't get to, and that would be a perfect place for even a community of Bigfoot to flourish. I think that they're smart and that they gather the remains of their dead brethren and bury it or do something with it, so that nobody discovers it. So they're just really intelligent creatures. Some of the footprints are pretty amazing. I mean, some of the footprints we've got, you know, law enforcement investigators looking at these, and they're seeing, like, you know, fingerprint style lines in the toe prints, and massive footprints, and they're just convinced that it was a real creature. So I do think that there is a paranormal aspect, so shout out to Joe Morrell there and his kids. There is a paranormal aspect, but there's a couple layers to that. So I really like some of the stories that are coming out where people are saying that Bigfoot has this ability, sometimes to disappear, but also to do this electric shock. I just learned about this, and I know that Bean Baxter has heard about it, but some people have said that, you know, running into Sasquatch, they get this electric shock, and the Bigfoot kind of zaps them, and some people have described it feeling like being hit by a taser. So it makes you wonder if somehow some of these creatures have developed the ability to come up with some kind of electric discharge within, you know, the electromagnetic chemical system within their body. I mean, there are creatures on this planet that can do that. So I think that's pretty interesting. As far as them having, you know, a fifth sense, absolutely, I believe that. And to take that one step farther, we've had so many sightings where there's a flash of light, they disappear. Tracks seem to disappear. Up here in Alaska, there was a sighting where supposedly a military unit had spotted one, and they were following it, and the tracks in the snow completely disappeared. It had vanished. Now, would that Bigfoot be smart enough to backtrack its own tracks? Yeah, probably, but there's just a lot of birds circling me here. I'm out at my secret outdoor spot. I think this is going to be a new thing. It's better than filming in the bunker, that's for sure. So really enjoying this. See if I can stand the winter cold to do more of these videos. But these stories of them vanishing, orbs falling around, flash of light, I really believe that Louis L'Amour, when he wrote The Haunted Mesa, was onto something, and he was trying to tell us that the Bigfoot have doorways that they can open, and scientists have already, you know, speculated about wormholes out in space. Sometimes you'll hear a physicist talking about, you know, there may be some kind of dimensional shift even on the planet here. Ley lines, all that thing, the electromagnetic spectrum of the world. I think they've tapped into that, and they're able to either phase in and out of reality itself into another world, another dimension, or they're able to transport themselves from one area to another. Other people have described kind of telepathy from the Bigfoot, communicating with them, freezing people with fear. Oh man, these birds are mad at me. They're chirping. Maybe I've tapped into something here. But let's check in with Bean Baxter. I know I asked him about this. Let's just talk to him about Port Chatham and then what he thinks about this whole spiritual aspect to the Bigfoot. All right, I'm here in the beautiful cosmic hamlet by the sea with Bean Baxter once again, finally connected with him. So I'm gonna have more videos with Rob Roy Menzies, Bean Baxter, and hopefully we can get the whole band together and do some expeditions and stuff.
It'd be like the Avengers of Alaska Bigfoot.
Get Alex back out here too. But he just shared, gave me a copy of his book and signed it, and I didn't even realize that he has these. He has these at Rob's shop, Bigfoot Art Gallery. But tell me about this book, Abandoned, The History and Horror of Port Chatham, Alaska.
So I wrote that after we went on the 2018 Port Chatham expedition.
Okay.
I was approached by Stephen Major, who was putting the expedition together. It was one of those things where it kind of has to be fate, the way we just kind of all met each other, me, right. Stephen Major, Adam Davies, and Adam was supposed to go on the expedition. He couldn't make it, so Stephen was like, can you take Adam's place? Can you come out with us? Mm-hmm. That plus my history in law enforcement and military, and mm-hmm. I lived here in Homer, and I had access to weapons, so it was easier for me to provide them, for him to bring them up. Right. So it just kind of worked out that way, and we headed out there in 2018. It was the first expedition mm-hmm. that was documented to go into Port Chatham and look for Bigfoot, as far as we know. I know right. people have gone on day trips there and stuff and look for Bigfoot. People go in there, go hunting occasionally, mm-hmm. but it was the first documented expedition in there to look for Bigfoot and to look into the legends, mm-hmm. The history of Port Chatham, which, Port Chatham was a fishing village. It was founded in the early 1900s, and then by 1950 it was abandoned. Right. Nobody lived there. You can see on the cover there, that's one of the few remaining structures in the town. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stories surrounding the area. People say that the hairy man, or the Nantinak, which is what the natives call their big hairy man in the woods here, that he chased people away, that he hurt some people, maybe even killed some people. Mm-hmm. A lot of missing people in that area. Right. And Stephen was fascinated by the legend, and he wanted to go in there and look into it. Mm-hmm. And me, being in law enforcement, being an investigator, I got the bug. I wanted to know what's going on here, what right. happened. So, I kind of put my nose to the grindstone and investigated the history of Port Chatham, and that's kind of the combination of what I found. So yeah, there were some guys, some other officers mm-hmm. That came to me and was like, hey, I think there might be something to this. I had a family member that had experience or something like that. Mm-hmm. They were a little bit more accepting of it than I expected. Yeah. I'm sure there were some, chatter behind my back about, I think, like the guy's crazy, but, it didn't really affect my job or my performance or my interaction with my coworkers that much. Mm-hmm. I didn't get any like stuffed Bigfoots, like taped to my desk or anything like that. Right. So, it was... It wasn't as bad as I expected when it finally kind of came out. I'm always surprised how many people believe, because when I was contracting on base, we had our provost marshal, who was also in law enforcement. He had done stuff with the troopers all over, and he was like, man, I should be doing the TV shows, not you, because he believed it, and he was hearing stories from villages that he was flying around to, because when you get around from village to village and cover big areas, you hear a lot of stories. Yeah, well, here in Alaska, it's either hardcore no, mm-hmm. or well, I saw it, or I know somebody that saw it. Right. It's pretty much a 50-50 split. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room. It's either they know someone that had experience, or they had an experience, or there's just no such thing. I'm not open to the possibility.
Now, the cove that I call Sasquatch Cove is directly over there. It's, you know, connected to the landmass of Port Chatham. And when you guys went to Area A, that's like around the other side. That's still kind of connected to that landmass, right?
It's
We can't give away the exact coordinates, but
it's pretty far away.
okay.
But it's connected.
Yeah.
You know, if you had the gumption and the supplies, you could totally walk from Port Chatham to where Area A is. It would take you a really long time, but you could do it.
I almost think Area A is a better area because you're way farther away from people over there.
Yeah, well, you know, I think that they're very similar. And, you know, I could show you a picture from Port Chatham, and I could show you a picture from Area A, and you wouldn't be able to tell one from the other.
Yeah.
They're very similar. They also remind me of other places, even in the lower 48. Have you ever heard of the Area X that the NAWAC guys research in? You know, they've got like kind of a area where they have like a cabin, a flat area, and then directly behind the cabin there's a really steep like hill that goes up, and it's almost geographically it's almost the exact same layout. So it just kind of, you know, it just adds a little bit more like, well, that's just like this area here. It corroborates behavior and patterns of activity.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is his book, Abandoned. So everybody check out Alasquatch. I'll throw a link up there. And you've got a website too, right?
AlasquatchPodcast.com.
AlasquatchPodcast.com. There will be links to his books there. You can get them there. But thanks for meeting with me.
Yeah, no problem, Chuke.
So there you have it. There's some people in the Bigfoot researching community that maybe aren't really big into the whole paranormal aspect, and they just don't know. They may be open to it. I happen to lean that way, and when it comes to that, you have to be able to protect yourself too. And how are you going to protect yourself against something that can phase in and out of the material world? That's scary. But there's a few things that you can do. You have to be grounded in your own self, sense of spirituality, sense of the world. There are tools you can use, salt, silver. I'm actually having a local goldsmith smelt me silver bullets for some of these investigations. Now, Chuck and I tried loading up a pure silver bullet that they cast for me, and it did not, Chuck wouldn't even let me fire it because it wasn't uniform, and there was serious problems that could happen going through the cone of that revolver. So I'm going to use it in a revolver. But I now have a goldsmith that is smelting pointed pieces of silver into a hollow point, filling the hollow point until it comes up with a pointed piece of silver. And I'm really excited about that because I do want to do some episodes about the shapeshifters, the dogman, and one of the creatures that I saw personally up here, I believe, was something like a dogman. It was just such a predator-like creature, and I was like 120 yards from it. Sometimes I wish I would have just taken that shot, but I wanted to be completely sure. I didn't know what I was looking at, but this was the time that I saw that cat-like creature with big kangaroo-like ears, and it was just haunched down, kind of staring at me. And the first thing I thought was, oh, it's a caribou fawn with no antlers because of the big ears. But then when I looked at it, you know, no animal in that deer family is going to crouch and go like that. They can't move their shoulders like a cat or a wolf or something. So whatever it was a weird predator thing that hasn't been confirmed up here. So anyways, I am getting the silver bullets made. There is something I like to call righteous anger. And a lot of these people, if they would just have a strong sense of spirituality, when they get abducted by aliens, for instance, if you're not grounded in who you are and your belief system and at peace with that, you're going to get probed hard by those aliens. But if you just have righteous anger and you've got some kind of instrument, a cross or something with you, you know, you can't hurt me, many sightings and instances, the energy goes away when you have that strong sense of self and that righteous anger that comes from within and without. So part of that for me is going to have silver bullets. So I'm excited about that, but keep tuning in. Next week we have our Halloween special coming up. So I'm going to have some discussions with Rob Roy Menzies and Bean Baxter on spooky stories. So it's spooky week next Sunday, right before Halloween. I think it's a couple days before Halloween, 2 days before Halloween, 3 days. But it's going to be our Halloween High Strangeness in Alaska, the Bigfoot Studies special. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all the comments, and I appreciate all of you guys, and we'll see you next Sunday.